making this video for YouTube, not a reel, so I've got a little bit more time. It's always difficult to scrunch information into 90 seconds, isn't it? In my social media feed, I'm getting an awful lot of Airbnb and rent to rent. Now, we're not talking about flipping, or sometimes we are talking about flipping. We're talking about flipping for other people. So somebody will source a deal, so they're sourcing deals. So they're sourcing deals, flipping for other people. So you buy a house, you hand it over to somebody, and they charge you 30,000, and they carry out all the works, and then they start renting it out for you. Now, Airbnb, rent to rent, flipping somebody else's, solving somebody else's. Now that's great, but that's a job. That's not building a property portfolio. Now, I know that may sound, is that property investment? I'm not sure it is property investment. I wouldn't call that investment. You're not it's a job. You could have a job as a taxi driver. You earn a good wage, you take it home, you pay tax, you pull out your expenses. That's great. Now you could say, we can scale up Airbnb. Well, yeah, you can. You can scale up taxis as well, can't you? You buy one taxi and you run it until you're so tired, and then you buy a second taxi and employ someone, and a third taxi and employ someone. So you can scale up virtually any business whatsoever. So that brings in the point, is Airbnb on other people's property investment? I don't think it is. That's my view. Now, if you take the money you make from Airbnb and then you invest that into buying your own house and then invest in that and use that for Airbnb, now that's building a portfolio, but that's not what I'm seeing on social media. As a matter of fact, it's really not. And everybody seems to be going rent to rent. That's the new, I wouldn't say craze, but the new in thing. There's a number of people I'm seeing, and in my view, rent to rent, because rent to rent is, you're obviously renting somewhere, so it's clearly not yours. That's not building a portfolio. And you're at the, I wouldn't say the mercy, but you are at the mercy of the landlord. If that landlord becomes ill or gets too old or just gets fed up and he wants some money and he wants to go to Dubai on a jet ski. Yep. Then that's different, and then you lose your Airbnb or your rent to rent. So it's a pretty big, important question. Is that property investment? Now, I don't see it. I'm also seeing a lot of deal sourcing. Oh, my social media feed is full of deal sourcing. We'll source you a deal and we'll charge you a fee, and we want you to make money with us. So the quicker you make money, the quicker we make money. It's 3,000 to 5,000. We'll source this deal. Well, okay. Not being funny, is that property? That's not. It is related to property in the social media feeds that I'm seeing. But what I'm saying is that could be anything. You could source cars. Somebody wants a Lamborghini, but they want a blue one with pink stripes. Well, okay, let's find it, let's source it, and you pay a lot of money for sourcing that. As a matter of fact, there's some very, classic cars. There are some high profile businesses that source this. But it's not just that. You can source anything. You can source insurance products. You can source materials. You can source anything and charge a fee for it. That's a job. That's what that is. That's not building equity in a property portfolio. I'll say that again because it's really quite important. That is not building equity in a property portfolio. So you're just making money from a job. It's a job. Deal sourcing is a job. You go around, you make a lot of phone calls, you find this, you find that. It's a job. It's not building equity. You can't say, yes, this house has gone up from 100,000 to 200,000. I now got 100,000 in equity. What shall I do with it? Because you're sourcing a deal. Nothing to do with that. You could source a deal for a car. You could source a deal for tires. I'm in this forest now. You could source a deal for what the Americans call it, lumber, timber. You could source anything. It's just a job. Airbnb. I'm seeing it all the time. How I made all this money and how I'm living in Dubai on Airbnb money. Well, because I don't change the sheets myself. I organize it for somebody. That's a job. That's not building a property portfolio. That's a job. And in all honesty, if you're sat somewhere else just making a few phone calls, I mean, that might be a very good job. You might say, well, I got this job and I'm hardly doing anything and I'm making some good money. Well, that's a good job then, isn't it? It's a good job. It's a business. It's not building a property portfolio. It's not building equity in a property portfolio. Now, if you're in a situation whereby you got, say, 10 houses, and over a period of, say, we'll give it a long period, say 30 years, those 10 houses have gone up from a total gross value of 100,000 each. So we'll just use a nice round figures. That's $1 million. And then in 30 years time, that 1 million property portfolio is now worth 15 million. That's building equity in a property portfolio. There's a lot of tax to pay on that, and you would have had expenses, and you would have had a lot of maintenance, you'd have had a lot of headaches, you'd have had a lot of tenancy issues. Oh, you'd have had everything. You'd have been changing boilers, you would have been doing everything to have got that huge, oh, I say huge, it's not that huge, equity. So you would have had a job, but on the side of it, you'd have had the equity building. That's not a job. That's, I wouldn't say it's a side hustle either. Doing maintenance and dealing with tenants and tenancy agreements and all the regulation that goes with it, that's not a piece of cake. That's hard work. Although I must admit, the government says that being a landlord is not a job, and I do say that. I keep going on about that. Yeah, it's not a job, apparently. Although I seem to be very, very busy with not having a job. There you go. I think rent to rent. I think rent to rent is one of the easiest ones. You rent a property for £1,000, you rent it out to somebody else for 1,300. You make 300 yourself. That's great, but you're at the mercy of the landlord again. If that landlord said they've had enough, or the year's up, or they want to sell it, or they want to go to Dubai on a jet ski, then again, rent to rent that's a job. That's a job. You're not building a portfolio. It's a job. Other things I'm seeing on my feed is we organize the work on your house to turn it into a HIMO, and then we'll manage it afterwards. Okay. Or they don't manage it afterwards. They'll just renovate the house and turn it into what you want. Now, they say that's property investment and it's a portfolio. No. In my view, that's what they used to call being a builder. In my view, that's a builder. You just specializing in residential accommodation, putting in bathrooms and kitchens and an awful lot of decoration. But that's a job. That's not building a property portfolio, because it's not your house you're working on, is it? And in all honesty, really, that's just a builder. You're a builder. That's a job. It's not building a property portfolio. Unless you take that money and you buy your own house, that's different. But I'm not seeing that. Another thing, REITs, I forgot what it stands for, Residential Investment Trusts or something like that, where you invest money into a company that manages houses, and they have to, by law, give 90% of their turnover back to the shareholders. That obviously sounds a relatively good idea, but the thing is that property investment? Yeah, that's just stocks and shares. Surely you can go on the stock market and invest in gold, or because it's paper, it's fugazi. You're just investing in something that is going to give you a return. You're not building equity. It's not a property portfolio. There's no property portfolio. You're just investing. You send money off and you don't see where it goes. So, and you just get a return. I have no idea. It's not something I've really looked into. Each month, at the end of the year, I don't know. But that's not really property investment, is it? Because you could invest in anything. You could invest in ICI, you could invest in Google, you can invest in Microsoft, you can invest in Tesla, you can invest in anything. It doesn't have to be property, does it? So I guess what I'm saying is you need to be careful who you let in your ear. Property investment, keep it to property investment. Are you buying houses? Are you buying flats? Are you buying commercial property? Are you buying any property? Are you buying land? That's property investment, isn't it? Or if you just got a job, or you investing in something else that gives you a return. Try to focus in on property investment. Just because it's got property investment in the title does not mean it's property investment. Quite the opposite, really. Airbnb and how to source deals and rent to rent. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'm doing it all wrong, and maybe I should have been doing that. Hell, by the looks of it, maybe I should have been selling courses. I could make a few bob selling courses. I didn't even have to provide any form of qualification for that either. Anyway, that's a different subject. Property investment is property investment, equity building. Why was my dog rolling in the grass?